So thanks everybody for joining. So today's podcast, as I was mentioning earlier, it's all about sustainability. You know, what is it? How can we use technology and key partners to improve the company's green strategy, the company's bottom line? So we have various guests today for our podcast.
Hi everyone, I'm Clement from the Singapore Manufacturing Federation. Nice to be here on this podcast.
My name is Clement for the Opex Consulting. Hi everyone, this is Franklin from Opex Consulting Group as well.
Decades over decades, there's always some kind of a buzzword. You know, back in the 1990s, it was something else. It was talking about technology, the bubble, everything else. And then now in the 2000s, we're talking about sustainability. It's a really big word. And I do believe that where it comes to sustainability for small companies, big companies, different size companies, it means different things. So how does that apply to them? How does that apply to their technology? How does that apply to their industry, their size, what they do, what they try to attain? It's a huge confusion. We just keep hearing it time and time again. It's a big word, sustainability. But sustain what?
One of the things that I was talking to Rob Tondreult about is kind of the practical approach of how can we use our platform to help companies on their path for sustainability. And so our software is very configurable, right? And so in terms of a company using the software to go off and do an assessment of their supply chain, their current supply base. I mean, basically, we're a cloud software platform. You're able to easily survey all of your suppliers with some key metrics to have a better understanding of where they sit. And I'll let Rob kind of elaborate on kind of some of the things that Rob would be since kind of recommended as kind of just a high level. So, Rob, you want to open up a little bit?
Sure. As we all said, this is a tremendously big subject. But when it comes to manufacturing, there are many steps when we want to get to some kind of sustainability. So on the topic of environmental, we want to start gradually. Instead of a huge amount of requirements and making it difficult for manufacturers, you want to start with things that they're able to achieve. And the first area is about handling and materials. Material handling and wastage is a very, very significant topic. So optimizing how material flows in and out is going to be a great contribution to the environment if less material is used and if there's reduced scrap. So optimizing material usage and flow of material in and out of the plant is key. So Rob and I have worked together to optimize the platform. And for instance, in the templates in the quotation process, to include raw material handling in each component of the BOM. So for instance, how much material is being used in a given product or component, how much material is reprocessed during the manufacturing of the product. So material in, material process, material going out is going to control the supplier in how much he's impacting the environment. And we do that with our bill of materials and quotation template.
So Clement, to that extent of using technology to help with the sustainability aspects of the for companies and in manufacturing, what other areas do you think, or you could add to that extent? Because manufacturing, it's this very wide-ranging, it's different products, everything else. And how does technology gets into or help in that sustainability aspect of it, do you think?
Well, I guess that from the manufacturing company's point of view is that we got to look at it holistically. I think Rob mentioned it there. Material is one of those very important elements. But beyond that, I think we should be looking at how much energy are they consuming in their manufacturing processes. That could be in their scope 1 or scope 2 kind of energy consumption. And the other part of it is actually then the water consumption as well, because some of the companies that we know, or some of the manufacturing firms that we know, they do still use water as their primary source of energy generation through steam boilers. So that is basically the scope 1 energy that we could look at as well. And of course, last but not least, how would all this then translate into the amount of carbon emission? I basically resonate with what Rob mentioned earlier, is that we should start sustainability on a simpler note and just tackle the environmental aspects first. The big E is something that we got to address first, followed by then the S and the G. And at the Singapore Manufacturing Federation, we have actually aligned this very closely with the Singapore Green Plan 2030. Okay, looking at first thing first, green economy, sustainable living, and also on energy reset. And of course, all these then would then basically roll up to the overall Singapore climate target of 2050, ongoing net zero.
As a company, to be very honest, hearing this thing about sustainability, net zero, and all this is mind-boggling for me, and it's scary as heck. Regarding what is this net zero all about? Like, how nobody has really, explained how you can achieve as a company net zero. Is it even possible? For any company, any industry, like something like ours, a platform.
Yeah.
Can we achieve net zero? Like, how do we even inform our customers, how to help them to achieve net zero? And what are the standards of net zero? Like, how do you even measure it?
And every company say, I want to do sustainability, but what you really want to achieve? Like, most of the time, say, I want to reduce my cost of my energy. There is more often than not. Then let's be honest about it. Let's define that and just start with that, right? Yeah. And then come the second point is measure. That is the stumbling block. That is the hardest part. That we say waste. We work on a project on how to measure how much waste they are throwing away. So you have all these carton boxes, packaging, every day goes out. How to measure that? How much you're throwing away, right? So then they come up with the idea that you got to have a pallet jack that have the weighing scale in there, and they transport it. You already know how much. Of course, you are able to integrate your system. That's better. If not, I need to right now. That's how you have to come up with a creative way of measurement, right? And this time you just start from the point that net zero. How do you even measure that?
Yeah,
measuring that is a very big challenge. Actually, a very big challenge, and you need some creativity. But of course, there are a lot of technology to measure the amount incoming energy, right? There's those that. Yeah, what you need available, you get those, get that, implement that. But this is only one part of the measure. There are so many things you have to measure inside the whole sustainability. And that is truly the challenge. And for SME, it's worse because then before you can see any benefits, you have to do a lot of investment. And not many SME can do that at the car master to do that. So I think this is kind of challenge we're facing when we are working in the real projects.
Well, I guess from our side, we have already curated a program that is basically to help SME to embark on sustainability transformation on a lower entry, using a lower entry barrier. And so basically, I heard about, the use of technology, the measuring of energy, the measure of all your materials, all this. They basically would need to understand where they are first, and that is to establish a baseline. And once you have clearly understood where you stand, then that's where you are able to look at how do you set targets for all the different environmental sustainability components like energy, water as well as material, and as well as that translating into GHG. And of course, the way to look at it is that after you've done the gap assessment, we'll look at what are your biggest gaps, and then how do you prioritize your gaps. The way we look at it is that what are the main cost drivers within your organization, and using that as the start point to define, your priorities to work on. I'm saying here is that usually you can uncover 10, 20 gaps, but can you cover all? You may not be able to cover all, right? So through this big prioritization approach, we can look at first what are your cost drivers, and look at those that can bring out the biggest financial and strategic impacts to the organization. From there, then that's where we will look at what are the different ways, to improve through a roadmap. Now, this is again a buzzword to say that it can be a decarbonization roadmap or it can be a net zero roadmap. And then that's where, the other ecosystem players, those with technologies, solutions, or whatsoever, can come in to support in terms of the implementation. Now, to the earlier point about why it's so confusing about sustainability is that, if they start by implementing without knowing where they stand, then would it be useful? That is my question to the team here. Then that's where, again, we need to have a systematic approach to help them embark on sustainability transformation and helping them to lower the entry barrier as much as possible.
Clement, I believe this is a question you probably get asked a lot, or your team get asked a lot. When it comes to companies trying to be part of, trying to participate in this sustainability, but then it's a cost measure here. It is an investment. Do you want to share something about that?
I think the way we position ourselves here in sustainability is that it has to be more coming from a business perspective. So the program that we have launched, the CSO as a service, has got to achieve these three objectives. The first thing is being, are we able to help you future-proof your business? Okay. Second is that, based on what we are introducing to you, are we able to help you improve your profits? And last but not least, are we able to help you differentiate yourselves and to be ahead of your competitors and to help you foster innovation and reach out to new markets and customers? So these are questions that we will always throw it back to the owners. Of course, then you start asking yourself, if you don't future-proof yourself with your current business practices, a lot of SMEs could be supply chain of listed companies or MNCs where they already would have some sustainability requirements for their businesses. And if they don't comply and can't comply based on either their scope 1, 2, or even 3, then that's where you could be falling out of their procurement list. And if you were to look at some of the articles, I read one last week saying that 8 out of 10 SMEs could not lose business because they could not comply. So it really depends on how you really want to see sustainability, whether it is as a growth initiative or it is as a cost initiative to you. Yeah. So I think we can always talk about why and how does it help in the business, and we can argue until the cow come home, but business is what's more important, right?
Clement, I agree with you on the point. Is your business going to be there still if you don't know sustainability? Very simple. If you now imagine the platform, SCiMon platform, right? Say you have to put in your carbon footprint of your component you supply, otherwise you cannot be a supplier. Then a very simple thing, you're out of business if you cannot even say what is your carbon footprint for your component, right? And then once you have that, then it's just the start. Then you're comparing, hey, these two suppliers, one has lower carbon footprint than the other. So then it becomes a choice. You have a choice, right? And that is the threat to the existing business. If you don't do it, sooner or later you'll be out of business, because then you can't even provide the number. You cannot even qualify to be a supplier. That is the kind of return or the value to the business. And they have to be aware that at the moment, it's hard for them to visualize. That is the problem.
regarding the manufacturing process, you're talking about trying to save or trying to reduce waste. Like, in a lot of the manufacturing process, especially in metal manufacturing, stampings, extrusions, and all this, when it comes to the waste product, even trying to get rid of the waste itself is a very extensive process to get rid of those waste material. So, to companies, it's a jungle thing. Like, what do we deal with first? Do we deal with this first, or do we deal with the waste first? What is it that the customer wants?
I mean, we've talked about so many processes here. So let's talk about material and make it very simple for a supplier to see how they can implement this. So a particular supplier is going to be able to categorize. They can do this now. What materials are coming in the door? That's a very simple process to categorize. As you process, you do two things. One is you control your manufacturing to optimize the material and reusability of the material in your facility, but nobody can avoid scrap. But then what you could do is you can take that raw material that is now injected, and instead of putting it all into a bin with everything else, you separate it and you put it all in a container. Certainly, and you can even parse it out. There are different types of polymers, so you keep certain polymers together, and then what you do is you have a recycling firm come and pick up that particular polymer, and now they are responsible for recycling. So 1 metric ton in, parts, scrap, 1 metric ton out, you're net zero. That's how simple you can do it on a material, incoming and outgoing of material. So it's really not complicated.
So I'm going to throw this question to Franklin and Tijuana. So, it seems like this can be achieved in a large part through systems. What systems are there in place yet now for companies to achieve that?
Right. So the firstly is the system about the building, right? The building management. You've got to understand all the incoming, whatever outgoing. You have to be able to manage the building. That's the first thing, right? So building management system has been there, and people are upgrading it to take care of all these additional measurement. And then you must have a central system to manage this, right? So that can be visualized all in one place, right? So this is about the facility itself. That is the first step. Now, the second step is to put the meters at the machines. If you have a lot of machines, right? And that is the second step. They go to the deeper granularity. And there are a lot of these power meter available to measure the machines, right? Again, the difficult part is that how you collect this data, how you make sense of this data, right? And how you take action after that. That is measurement. You can measure it, but you have to have a follow-up on that. And then when it comes to the material, that is the hardest part. Product level. When it comes to product level, then you need to help of this ERP and MES software, right? It's not enough to say that I use how many kilowatt hour per day, because in the day you produce many different products. You must be able to say that this product I actually use how many kilowatt hour, this product I use how much material for each product, right? And if this machine is one day is processing this much, you have many lots. Every lot, how much is being it's expense either energy or material, and if you use ERP, which take care of a lot of material, and use MES because MES take care of which lot run from what time to what time, when is it start, when does it end, how much material you put in, right? How much manpower put in. So all these can be measured through these digital systems, right? So without mentioning any brands, so ERP, MES, you definitely can do the measurement. And then also not forgetting that after you finish your process, you have to ship all this thing out. Logistics, fleet management, the whole fleet management system comes in, right? You can measure how much. In fact, if you ask that to measure this material, is it lower carbon footprint than the other material? When you really calculate in real life, interestingly, the logistics to ship the material to your location account for more than the material itself. Right, bigger factor there. So we want to get material, try to get it at a nearer point, and then similarly, when you ship out, you have to still have to calculate that because the whole shipping is counted as part of your product carbon footprint. So all this digital system is impossible to do it manually. Yeah, nobody is able to do that. This is not possible. Yeah, and yes, the existing systems that are available for ages, but it has to be renewed. You use a ERP that's too old, it cannot help you to calculate this. MES that don't have all these features built in, you also cannot do the kind of calculation. That is kind of digital system that we are talking about. Now, if you don't have a digital system to start with, then forget about sustainability. Forget it. Yeah, you won't be able to adapt on the journey.
And so maybe we can go around final thoughts.
Yeah, I think, with the SCiMon platform, we're promoting first on the E side, on the environmental side. And I think we've seen that that's going to be the easiest for all manufacturers to implement because they already understand how to control inventory, incoming and outgoing. And so using the SCiMon platform will give them the focus on the components and the bill of materials, so they'll know digitizing in a way what they're doing, what the process is. We're kind of helping them move in this next step. We have to do baby steps to reach it, and everything we've talked about could be very, very overwhelming, and we don't want to put companies out of business. We want to promote the business, and the SCiMon platform is going to do that. And we'll continue to add on KPIs in order to assist in this area. But starting with material is going to be the nice, simplest approach. You're making forward progress, and the SCiMon app can assist that no matter what the manufacturing process is. I think it's quite doable. It's a grand goal, but with SCiMon we can achieve it together.
I think it is also about the spirit of establishing the operational excellence culture, right? To always look for improvement, and this is key in the sustainability journey. It's not something that you can do in 1 year, 2 years, but once you start, you cannot stop. But you have to start, right? But I think the journey itself requires discipline, requires commitment, requires investment, obviously, right?
So for me, just to add on to what Franklin said, just a simple statement, right? A lot of companies, business owners say, when do we start, right? So the answer is simple. We have only one Earth. Okay, there's no plan B. We have to do something for this planet.
Yeah, I think it's important that the manufacturing companies especially are equipped with tools that you guys have, especially what you have in SCiMon. And I think it's important that besides this tool, I will encourage the companies to really understand at the organization level, what it means for their business in terms of sustainability. And as what Theam mentioned, there's only one Earth, and it's all our responsibility to make sure that we preserve this Earth for the future generations.
Digital transformation is everywhere. It's time to digitize your quote process, automate the repetitive tasks, and free up your team to focus on more value-add tasks. Don't let tariffs, travel, and lack of visibility in the global supply chain hold you back any longer.
I'm going to go to event. Basically, if we want to focus on this quote here, the event detail, we were able to come down here. We want to highlight raw material type and cost and percentage recycled and percentage scrap. These were specific to the sustainability. This is the quotation side by side. And what's important here is to show project sustainability, how you compare the two suppliers in terms of their green score. So in this case, the supplier, their material cost is a little bit lower than supplier 2. Here, you've got 20% recycled material, 5% scrap rate. This company has 20% regrind, 8% scrap rate. So this supplier's performance is better than this supplier. So we're going to go ahead and select this supplier based on their green capability. Now that supplier's in the green. That's the invoice number you can issue. But just very, very pointed and simple.
Contact us for a demo and discussion on how SCiMon.co can transform your supply chain today. SCiMon, supply chain simple.
So Clement, is that something that you get involved in? So an SME approaches your office and to basically achieve this compliance. You guys kind of help them scope out, the path, and then also help them say, okay, here's what you need to do. And then we can kind of offset some of the costs of that with some government grant. Is that how your office works?
They can always come to us and ask to share with us what are the specific needs. Okay. If they are basically looking at software to help them embark on some of these initiatives, by all means, we can always get our business advisors to help them apply for some relevant grants. There are a lot of funding in the market that, can help SMEs such as the PSG grant or EDG whatsoever. It depends on the scale of implementation. PSG refers to Productivity Solutions Grant. So it basically would help companies to defray some costs if, let's say, they were to decide on an approved solution that is to help them manage their product carbon footprint through your software whatsoever. So this is a kind of grant that will help on one aspect. But if, let's say, the company would like to embark on a bigger journey, then they could actually work on getting some funding from Enterprise Singapore with the Enterprise Development Grant. On that note, it can be a more customized form of consulting before we start to introduce tools or software to the companies holistically.
Yeah, well, this has been fantastic, and again, it's really just about getting started. And I think the resources are available. It's been very clear, and thanks for taking the time to discuss today. So,
Well,
fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks, all right.